Good morning, and today is the third day that I'm working on this. Now that isn't consecutive days of working on something. Uh, as far as I did this every day, I had a whole weekend before the last time I filmed this, and so I've been thinking and exploring other ideas, and doing other creative pursuits. Um, the I don't know what I'm going to do today at all. I don't know if I'm going to add more color, if I'm going to add more white, more black. I feel like I want to add some weight to down here in the base of the picture. I might want to add some darkness. Again, there's that pull that I want to be pulled to making a landscape. I do see sort of a landscape here. I don't know what you see. Maybe take a moment. I'll let you think about what you see. I see like castle, village, a big arch. I see some maybe human forms down here. There's the idea of multiple spaces in one work is something that really intrigues me. That is that you can have a lot of things going on. Time for us is linear, but in the universe, really, there's all things kind of happening at once in a certain way. Time just allows for the transition from one phase to another, or for change to happen. So the idea that you can have an image or create an image where you have a disequilibrium going on in your mind where you're not sure what's happening. Are we at one time, one place, or are multiple events happening at the same time is one thing that really intrigues me. I've been looking at artists that do that sort of thing lately. And so that idea has kind of come up before, and I know I've mentioned quantum mechanics and thinking about kind of like the weirdness of the subatomic level, what happens to those, the laws of physics become really weird at that level. And so I ponder those things as I'm painting. I did get some new paint, and I do feel like I want to add color today, but I'm not so sure, really. Right now, we talked about the ground. Basically, I wanted to leave that gray in space, and I hope that you notice that what kind of happens when you have a unifying color like a gray, a unifying neutral color like a gray or a brown, as you start to add things like white and black. That kind of unifies a lot of things, allows for forms to kind of develop a little bit quicker. So a lot of times when we grow up and we're children, we go, I have a white piece of paper and I want to add every color there. If we start with a colored piece of paper and we add white, we have paints or crayons or pastels. I love oil pastels. You can play a little bit quicker with making forms, right? You don't have to draw every form. You can kind of let those colors make the forms and play with your eye a little bit. And so I think I want to add a little bit more white. And this time, I actually bought real white. So I'm not going to be using gesso this time. I'm going to be using white. And, sorry, I should prepare my materials before I started, because I have that little foil thing on top here. Oops. Hey, why let that paint go to waste? What's good? There we go. Oh, fell down the heater register. Outtakes included. I totally believe in that. I want to be very honest with how this whole process goes, and it can be very messy and chaotic, especially when you're trying to sort of create a chaotic sort of image, which has a lot of elements to it. I don't know if I'm really in the mood to paint today. And I think the one thing I probably would like to get across is, I've touched on it before, is that getting to the work is the hardest thing to do. And if you're a person like me who sometimes gets overwhelmed, doesn't know what they want to do, doesn't know what mood they're in, sometimes helps to create little routines for yourself. And I do this not just in art, I do this in all sorts of things. Like I'm an avid gardener, but sometimes the idea of going out and weeding is a little bit more daunting than I would like it. So I kind of made a system for myself where every day I'll go out and pull just 10 weeds, at least 10 weeds. And not that I stop at 10 weeds, but perhaps just the act of just getting 10 weeds will get me started. So 10 weeds a day is not going to take care of all the weeds in my garden. And I don't like to pick, now don't get me wrong, I love beneficial weeds. And I leave a lot of weeds to kind of be part of the natural system of environment. But I do have to manage what I want my space to be. And some things take over, and you don't want them to take over everything. So a little bit of maintenance is at least required. And so if I get 10 done, there's a high chance that I might go, well, why not 11 or 12? It's like same thing goes for exercise. I should do that more. These are rules I make for myself. They're not things I actually do every day, and I should. But they are goals we set for ourselves. So with painting, I originally wanted to do this every day. I wanted this to be an everyday project, but life gets, you have responsibility, you have things you have to do. And sometimes you need to take a break from something, right? And so you just got to do that. The idea of getting yourself to work doesn't have to be the same thing every day necessarily. Sometimes it's just, okay, I'm going to doodle on my book, or I'm going to write something. Today I'm going to be writing. My idea is I do something creative every day. Whether that's write a story, whether that's playing music. It can take whatever. Maybe it's creating a sculpture out of styrofoam. Maybe it's just playing with some recycled materials to make something new out of it, to invent something new. Something creative for at least 10 minutes a day. And when it comes to like practicing an instrument, 10 minutes a day really helps. Even if you don't feel like you really want to play. Something tells me I'm going to have to add color today. I'm building up this texture right now, and I don't know what I'm seeing yet. I don't know how I'm feeling today. Sometimes when I'm in that mode, doing something really radically different to change the situation. I've been making some rules for myself. I've been like, if I don't really have a technique I go by, I've been writing some rules in my little book, kind of examining how I actually do these things. And maybe I can pull something out of there. So I, along with those like rules of like 10 minutes of weeding or something, I figured I better do that for my artwork, and maybe I can improve my skills, or at least my approach, organize it a little bit more. And you may look at this and go, Mr. Wilson, you really need to organize your life. Is this what's going on in your brain? And I'm going to say, yes, that's what's going on in my brain. And let's see. So step one I've written down, make a blob. Let me step back and look at this. Okay, I can call that blobbish. I made a blob. Blob is this massive undefined thing, right? 2, doodle away, make variations. Textures, color, maybe dots and stripes. I've made some little bit of angles and a little bit of things. I've been maybe some dots and stripes, maybe some textures. I should do that instead of maybe going for color. We'll see. Number 3, look at weird art by other people. I suggest Max Ernst or Dali. That's for myself. You can look at other weird art by other people. There are a lot of great artists out there, and you can find them on the internet. So lucky these days to have access to so many great artists, because you used to be able to only find them in magazines or in books, but now you can find them on the internet. And there's tons of great artists to look at, and up and coming aspirational artists that that are amazing. So I get inspired by everybody. Let's see. Number 4, not liking it, go bold. Add a fractal or graffiti it. I'm kind of in that zone. Fractals are repeating designs that nature uses, and you've probably seen this. Let me use some black here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when I talk about fractal. Come on, scoop. Uh-oh. I may have a plug. I love fractals. Fractals, again, they're geometric representations of things that happen in nature. I'm going to use a different style brush too. Oops, I already got my white in there. No thanks. So think about trees as representational of fractals. You have a relationship. Let's make one line. And so the pattern goes, you've probably seen this in trees, is that you take that one line and you repeat that pattern, but about half the size maybe. And then half the size again. You start to see the pattern repeat itself, then half the size again, and so on, and potentially into infinity. Now, you've probably seen lots of different fractals. I love this triangle. I know a lot of kids will probably recognize this as something from a Zelda video game, but you start to look at the relationships between those patterns, and then that pattern can go bigger too, right? Those smaller triangles form a bigger triangle, and so the pattern repeats into infinity. And I'm going to say there's all sorts of great videos on fractals, or the Mandelbrot set, chaos theory, that sort of infinity that even in supposedly completely random systems, there's a deeper underlying order. And that's kind of what I explored this way, through this sort of form of painting art. It's like, what is that? Even though I'm behaving maybe in sort of a randomish way, I still have an underlying organizational order somehow. In this case, I've built myself a frame, or I've framed myself in, so I'm containing it. But even in that randomness, there's some sort of order. Now, I like organic forms, and I know that we're trying to not be necessarily representational, but I'm not absolutely not being representational either. I like those ideas. I like to kind of like, lately I've been finding a way to kind of squiggle when I do line art. I probably can't get enough on my brush at one time. But I like these little organic sort of, I'm thinking about coral reefs and how they kind of make themselves kind of chaotic, but there's this underlying structure. So I make these kind of like, they seem like random brush strokes, but there's sort of I'm making sort of a scaffolding of randomness of lines and form, right? make something else come out. I hope, at least. I'm not so sure I like this head. But, there's one thing I'm going to try before I'm done with it. I was watching something about the Ammonite people from the land of Eman, E-M-A-N, way back when, and this is in the Mesopotamian area. There was a district, there was about 3,000 BCE, before the Common Era. They were out there and they made their own contributions to our world. In fact, the first account of warfare in civilization is part of Ammonite history. And so I'm learning something. But they had cool art, but some of the art, and it's very unique. Some of the art looked very Greek to me, actually, very Minoan. Though most of their art is very much uniquely them. They had quite high quality craftsmanship. So we're talking about 5,000 years ago. Some of the imagery that they had, that they were making, was, I don't know, one of the symbols that seem kind of, that they use, that seem kind of very much a universal symbol, is the spiral, right? And so I wanted to try making some spirals in this guy's beard before I decide to cover him up, if I decide to cover him up, just to kind of see what it maybe does. I don't know. Who knows? I can see that I'm already trying to darken up this lower part to get some weight down here. And I've been ignoring this lower part. I don't know if you can actually see it on your screen. Did I actually not record? Oh, sorry. I'm going to keep recording. I don't know if this is turned off or not. Let's see. You can kind of see, but not totally down there. Okay. I've been ignoring this lower part, so I got to add some stuff down there, some textures, at least start something going. And maybe I'm going to borrow this triangular thing, and since I've already got some angles here, maybe I'm going to make some form of pyramid. Again, I love geometry and how what geometry does for the eye. It's hard to escape. Maybe I'll start combining sort of blobs. Who knows? I don't know. I noticed lately in some of my stuff I've been doing weird stuff with the eyes. Like there'll be eyes within eyes. Within eyes, I don't know. That shape of an eye seems to come out. It's also the shape in generic symbolic sense of a leaf, right? So I could I've already started something that looks like a tree. Maybe I'll do some tree-like stuff. I don't know. I love trees too. Now again, all this may eventually be covered over. We're talking about a project that could last centuries if I live that long, right? I don't know if this project will ever end. Maybe after I move on, somebody will paint over it. I do give my daughter some license to paint over some of my paintings that have not worked out very well, or just kind of lost interest. I said, build off of it. Go for it. Anyway, I'm just going to kind of keep making marks. I'm not going to keep talking. I say that, and yet there'll be something that comes into my mind, and I'll just start blabbing about it. But kind of look back at this. What is happening? I don't know. This eye sort of thing here is kind of started off when I first made loops. Kind of reminds me of an Egyptian symbol. Symbolism plays big in a lot of modern art. Yeah, symbolism is part of our need to create meaning, and meaning that we relay through language. In fact, could we have meaning without language? We didn't have words. We didn't have symbols. Even our symbols have meaning. That letter, I don't know if you can really see that. The letter A stands for a sound, right? Ah, A. The pi symbol stands for a certain numerical concept, right? So if I need to communicate with you, you want to communicate with others, we rely on things like symbols, language. Even if we're not speaking, we want to tell somebody where to go to find the best berries or something like that. We can make a map. All right, let's see what's going on. And find ways to communicate that way, right? Okay. I don't know. What color do I want? Okay, I'm about ready to do color now. I keep wanting to look at the computer and not here. I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh boy. A little bit more than I wanted, but all right. What happens when I add color? What's your immediate reaction? Blue obviously is one of my favorite colors. Again, when I'm applying blue this way, my mind, again, we're making sense, right? Automatically goes to sky. Seems to me, years ago, I've read something that was relatively recently in our evolutionary history that we could even see the word blue and the concept of blue entering the vocabulary of human existence It's a relatively recent phenomenon, which is this mind-blowing concept. It's like, how can people not see blue? I don't know. If you're a student of mine, you might want to look up that. Double check the information I'm putting out. I don't want to put out misinformation. But I seem to remember hearing something like that. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think of animals like hummingbirds and manta ray shrimp. They can see a bigger spectrum of color than human beings can. I mean, they see colors that we can't even fathom necessarily. I'm like, well, that's interesting. It's interesting how I would love to be able to bend my mind to see a color that I have not perceived. One of the activities that I do when I try to go to sleep, to help myself sleep, is to try to come up with pictures that I've never seen before, or ideas or things, forms that I've never seen before. I even try to do that with music, like what is a sound I've never heard, right? I'll ask myself questions like that, and then I'll try to allow my brain to come up with something. Sometimes the results are interesting. Now, let's just imagine I was going to make it a landscape, and I would put the blue up there if I'm going to have a blue, lovely sky, right? And you can already see kind of maybe some clouds naturally forming. But one thing I've learned about painting is that just because you see a color someplace, especially if you're trying to do like realistic painting, doesn't mean that color isn't also present in other places. The light and surfaces reflect, right? And so just like water reflects the sky, even your coffee table or a lacquered shelf or a window pane will also reflect a color. A color is light, right? So students, you were learning about the human eye and how it sees earlier in the last week or so. That's really light bouncing off of something that gives us the clue or the blue, the idea that something is blue. It's really the light being reflected. Anyway, so bring that color in some sense, even if it's a little minor sense, elsewhere in your painting. Blue sky, I can see a blue sky, maybe a river, who knows? Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe I have a tree next to a river. What do you see? I don't know what I see. I haven't got a chance to really step back and really think about it. Like I said, I'm talking to you guys right now, so. Maybe I leave this head. Maybe this head is part of a statue. Maybe that statue is coming out of a river. Maybe it's ancient. Maybe it's recently uncovered. This plastic material is, if you were to look at it close, you can see right through it. So there's actually a paint going through this and on the wall behind, which is fine. I don't really care about that. But it does pose a challenge when you're trying to add new color to it. So I'm assuming after I just add color and finally get this thing all colored in somehow, the paint will not be absorbed or will be used more efficiently. It's a technical detail. Don't worry about it. Okay, well, I've got some blue. What happens when I add some red. Boop. Yeah, I apologize for my special effects sounds. Boop. It's one of them. Sorry. What happens? Boy, red is a special color, isn't it? Blue's special. Red is special. How it pops. Red comes out at you. Blue goes away. And when you look at science and you look at the stars, they call that the red shift, right? So that's one of the ways they measure distance of stars is called redshift. Anyway. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I've noticed lately in my painting or my drawing, I've been working a lot with red and blue, kind of in its more pure form. They say artists go through phases. Picasso had his blue phase. I'm going through my red and blue phase. I kind of almost see some sort of floral form going here for some reason. Let's take a step back. Maybe I want some more just solid red. Now when I combine red and blue, I make, especially for landscape painting, the combination of red and blue makes what color? If you said purple, you'd be correct. And purple is a magnificent color. Now let's say, I love purple, especially in landscape painting, because you can do some really interesting optical illusions. When you want to make things look far away or in the shadows, but it's also just a beautiful color all on its own. And I'm ignoring you down here, aren't I? Now, when I'm getting done with using my paint, what happens when I kind of add a little bit of black to that purple, getting it kind of mixed in there. get some more mid-tone sort of stuff go on, and that can have its own effect. All right, almost done here, guys. I don't know what I'm going to do here, but I want to make sure I don't waste paint. There's that cheapskate part of me that doesn't want to waste any paint. I don't know what I want to do there. I'm not sure. Okay. Now with that, I'm going to take a break. I might want to work on this a little bit more today. I'll put that in a different video if I do. I want to take a break and kind of digest what's going on with the surface of the painting, what my mind wants to make sense out of it, what my mind likes, what it doesn't like, what sort of forms might jump out at me. I don't know. But I will record it. I know you guys want to see it. That doesn't mean it's going to be anything good necessarily. It just means that you're going to see the process. Good luck.